It is finally time to start moving over stuff from my old Crested Gecko tanks to the new Crested Gecko tanks that look a little bit wonky right now. But I will pretty soon have the piece for them to sit on, so then I can bring them in. But for right now, I'm just going to start taking down the current Crested Gecko tanks, starting with Linus's tank will be first, because it's going to be pretty simple to take down, and I can just take Linus and put him in one of the females tanks, because the females tanks are very large, and, you know, he does fine with the females. So I'm just going to take him and put him in Darwin's tank, and he'll be fine, and then I will start taking everything out of this tank. It only has philodendrons in it, so I'll just set them in water until I can start on the other tanks whenever that is, because it's kind of a weird system. But then I just need to take out the dirt. I'm just going to put the dirt in the iguana cage because I'm done with it. I already have new soil for the new tanks, and I'm going to separate all these clay balls, which is going to take forever. So this video is basically just preparation, everything. I'm trying to get everything together to set up the new 355-gallon tanks that I've been building in previous episodes. So I have the background and everything ready and the drainage layer, and now I just have to add all of the materials inside. And before I start adding stuff, I want to collect everything from my previous enclosures because that's the majority of where the plants are coming from. The soil is just overrun with these giant canyon isopods, so I will just dump this essentially into the iguana's cage. The problem is there's clay balls in here, so I have to separate those out because those are supposed to be the drainage layer, but I screwed up when making this terrarium, so it didn't exactly work out. But everything that's not clay balls will be going into the large green iguana enclosure. I decided part the way through that I would simply throw the clay balls into his water dish and then clean out his water dish later, or her water dish, sorry, the green iguana's water dish, because that'll clean out the dirt off of it as I go. Also, the reason that the isopods matter at all in this situation is that I don't want the new tanks overrun with isopods because the base is rather small. Because it's a 55-gallon vertical tank, and I don't want too many isopods in there. So the vast majority of plants that I use, I can actually just grow straight out of water. So luckily, if I have plants that are going to be sitting for a couple days, maybe, I don't know what exactly is happening yet, then I can just throw them in a tub of water and then make sure they have a light on them and they're good. So that's what's currently happening with these guys. And then I'm going to start taking down this tank. The problem is there are at least 2 clutches of eggs in here, as far as I can remember, that will need to be removed because Teddy recently laid eggs. I didn't see the eggs, but she got smaller all of a sudden. I saw her digging back there. So I know there are eggs there, and then there's eggs in the front. I think I should move them because I want to take down this tank and I want to use this substrate, but my dad doesn't think so, because it's kind of stressful moving the eggs, especially since they've been there for a while already, and it's very valid. That does make sense. So it's kind of concerning. I'm not entirely sure what to think of it at this point, but I think I'm going to move them into the terrarium I set up for the eggs to go into. So I will probably be doing that in a very cautious manner. So, but first I'm just going to start removing stuff from this tank, including the gecko. I think I'll just throw her in here with the other ones and they'll all be alright. It's 2 females and a male. I'm not sure where she is, but I found the eggs. Let's see if I can show you. Trying to look. Okay, it's right there. See that really white bit? Those are some eggs. Those are our most recent ones. So that's cool. It's good that they're already exposed. Not have to worry about that. But I just do not know. Where is she? I don't think she just laid them. So maybe she did. I didn't notice them earlier. If she's back there, then maybe she did. Let's see. I think I might move her enclosure. I'm not sure entirely where she went. Oh, there she is. There we go. There's my gecko. So I'll get her out. Come on, girl. There you go. Looks like she might shed soon. It's alright. Come on. There you go. Ah. There we go. There we are. There's Teddy. And put her into here. First, I'm going to remove everything that I will want to use, including some of the plants that aren't in any difficult areas, and then I will search for the eggs and remove those into a cup, and then I'll move them so that I'm not dropping them, essentially, so I can make sure they stay upright and everything perfectly as they should. Start out by working on removing just like the little debris on top of the soil, so then I could use that as leaf litter in the new tanks. So I kind of worked around everything, and then I started removing little plants as I could that would not move around eggs in any way. And that kind of took some time because the top bit, like, it never really got that much water, so it was like really hard and stiff, so I kind of had to break that apart to get off like the vine roots and stuff. But I just removed what I could until I got to a point when I needed to remove the eggs. And I've done this before. I removed eggs out of the terrarium, and this is the best way I've found to do it. I have dropped eggs before within a tank and rolled them. Crested gecko eggs it is not a big deal if you roll them. Even if they've been sitting there for like a month, you could take it and roll it and put it back, and like, honestly, I've had no trouble with that. So I'm not like suggesting that you roll around your Crested Gecko eggs, but at the same time, don't freak out and continue incubating it because it will be just fine. So I'm just moving it to another terrarium, and this way they can hatch and everything in this tank, which is not what I do now. Now I use an incubator, but it's basically the same thing. I mean, this is just a more, complicated incubator. And that one doesn't have any isopods, so I don't worry about anything going on like with them eating the eggs or anything like that. It just has springtails. So an incubator is just a tub with some vermiculite in it, and that's just a glass container with some dirt in it. It's really not that different. But here I'm just starting to remove the soil and everything, and I'll get to the next clutch. Here are the eggs right there. So these are the newest eggs that my gecko has laid, and I forget when she laid them, but I believe I videoed it, so I'll be able to write that down and whatnot. But there they are, and it's pretty simple. Just they were right under here because sometimes Teddy likes to lay eggs just right under this thing, but now she won't have that opportunity because she's moving. Actually, she probably will. I mean, that thing's probably going to go back in with her. But these two eggs will be very easy to remove. There's nothing on top of them except the dirt that I kind of just set there. But I'm going to do that same system. Load this up with some nice soil, compact it, and then set them right on here just so then they're not too disturbed. Again, I'm just simply removing them with this little cup. It's very easy. And then I transfer them over to the 5-gallon nursery tank, and I no longer do this anymore, but honestly, since they've been in the new enclosures, I've only caught one of them laying an egg once, but multiple babies have been born in the tank, so they've been laying eggs. I just haven't caught it very often. But I generally stick with the use of an incubator rather than a terrarium because it's just easier to find them and there's less worry. So, like I said, again, I removed some of the top dressing just so I'd be able to use that in the new enclosures as leaf litter. And then I removed the dirt. It was kind of hard and caked in. Surprisingly, it was easy enough and it worked well for the crested geckos to lay eggs and to incubate the eggs. And I went ahead and put this into the new soil that I'm doing. And then once I had it all removed, and I had to, again, sort out all of the clay balls, which was a super big pain. And I'm about to have to do that like now times as I am voice recording this. I'm about to have to do that for Beth's tank because I'm going to redo Beth's tank and the leopard gecko, so I'm not looking forward to that. But it's just really not a fun process to sort out all the clay balls. But now I'm starting to do the same thing with Darwin's tank, mainly just removing all of the leaf litter. So like I keep saying, I can use it again because I am transferring everything somewhere. Either it's going into the iguana's cage, if it's like the substrate, like most of the substrate from Beth's tank went into the iguana's cage because it has so many isopods. And I just didn't want that many in the tanks. So I guess I'm going to start taking out these plants, and then I will put them in here to wash off some of the soil. This is the final tank I have to remove everything from, and first I start off with the geckos. I just put them with some wet paper towel in a dark place for me to finish up their enclosures, and then I add them to the enclosures once I'm done, which doesn't give a whole lot of time for the plants to adjust, and I'm not particularly concerned about that. One thing I would like to say is that while doing this, I rolled a couple of eggs that I didn't know were there, and I incubated them, and it was fine. Everything went out fine with that. And that's going to be it for this video. In the next video, I will get the plywood on the stand, and then I will put the tanks up, and we'll start setting them up, which is super exciting because I had to do this all in like a 2-day period of taking everything down and setting everything up because that's all I had off of school, and the geckos needed to get into the enclosures. So I went ahead and set them up that day after taking everything down. So yeah, this kind of just starts that off, getting all the resources ready in place and things, and then in the next episode, we will see it all come together finally. Even though it won't, because the doors won't be done for a couple of months. But they're done now in real time, and it looks great. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that because it'll be fantastic. Speaking of, I hope you have a fantastic day. If you so choose, you can like the video and leave a comment.